Cloudcast Media.
Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community, a show brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. Happy to have a return appearance from Melissa Peterman. She is the Executive Director of Townspeople. How you doing, Melissa?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. Joined by my guest co-host, Jason Nitz. He's the Dean of School Culture for Cristo Rey San Diego High School, and you've been doing a great job, by the way. You're a natural co-host. Matter of fact, I'm going to make you co-host of the show, and I'm going to step out for the studio. What do you think?
That sounds a little crazy, but it's your life, it's your studio. You do what you want.
That's exactly right. I know you have a question over for Melissa.
Yeah. So Melissa, I'm curious. What's the mission of your organization?
Our mission is to provide affordable housing and the support that folks need in order to maintain housing. Our vision is a fully housed San Diego. So that's what we work towards every single day.
How are we doing in that? Are we making inroads? Talk about that.
Yeah, I think, it's a little bit of both. 2 steps forward, 1 step back kind of situation that we're in.
Right.
There's a lot of really good progress that's being made right now in terms of I think we're close to an understanding, I think, that housing is a solution to homelessness. It's not the only thing that's needed, but it is the first step in the path to ending homelessness. And so there are a lot of really great new housing developments and creative responses to maximize the housing that we already have. I think I'm glad that homelessness is top priority for a lot of folks. And, and we're all in agreement. We all want to see an end to homelessness. So, we slip up every now and again in terms of how far we get, but there's been decreases in the number of folks experiencing homelessness. So, little bright spots.
Yeah, and what do you equate that to? Is it more funding? Is it more affordable housing? Is it more treatment programs, labor, education programs, all of the above?
All of the above. When housing is affordable,
right,
people stay housed,
That's right.
And so I think there's been a lot of investment in trying to keep housing affordable for folks. We still have a ways to go in that area. But, you appreciate the fact that housing authorities and the Regional Task Force on Homelessness really are doing everything they can to ensure that vouchers are made available to folks. And some of our elected officials, too, are working to try to make sure that the payments of rents are more transparent, so folks know what they're signing up for when they sign a lease. And so I do think that the collective focus on housing and making sure that we get as much of it as possible is definitely a contributor to that decrease, as well as the increased focus on behavioral health and supportive services. So the county lately has been really focused on increasing the amount of behavioral health support that's available in the community.
No, I think that's great. Jason, got another question for Melissa.
Yeah, so to put some of that into action, can you tell us a little bit more about the Fund Housing and Homelessness campaign?
Yeah, thank you for asking about that. We are just doing our best to, again, keep housing at the forefront of people's minds and to emphasize that it is the way that we end homelessness. So townspeople, we've been focused on raising dollars that will directly support the permanent housing programs and services that we operate. It's also an educational campaign so that we have opportunities like this to talk to folks about the reality of homelessness and to sort of demystify it a little bit. It's not like a mysterious problem that we have, and it just takes really practical solutions. And so just helping folks to get a more well-rounded understanding of the issue.
You hit a point that's so important. It sounds like in the world, when it's that obvious, we don't look at things. The analogy I use all the time, whether it's right or wrong, but I've been using it for years. People go, I never thought about that. The wheel came in 3000 BC, and suitcases probably in 2 BC, and we didn't put the wheel on the suitcase until 1970, right? Right?
I love that.
Yeah,
that
right.
is so good.
Well, but think about it. And the point is, you got these, 95-pound grandmas, with Samsonite heavy luggage, you're lugging them around, and would someone put a wheel on this thing here? But it's right in front of your face.
Yep.
And to your point, I love the fact that we can do this. We can do it. Blocking and tackling is the way to do it. And listen, it's certainly. Why people get homeless can be complex. Some of it can be as simple as, I just got laid off and I was paycheck to paycheck, and there's 1 million of folks that are in that area. And I've been bringing in income for all these different years. We're chatting with Melissa Peterman. She's the Executive Director of Townspeople. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, nation's longest running community podcast. We're in our 20th year, brought to you by fine folks at Mission Fed Credit Union. 6 decades of doing great things in the community. Homelessness is one of the areas that they're laser beamed on. Financial literacy, something near and dear to Jason's heart as well, and certainly art and so forth. So we're joined also by Jason Nitz. He is the Dean of School Culture for Cristo Rey San Diego High School. You had another question for Melissa.
Can you tell us a little bit more about shared housing?
I would love to tell you more about shared housing. It is one of my favorite topics. It's an initiative that Townspeople has been working on for the last few years in collaboration with dozens of other agencies in San Diego. And the idea is pretty simple. It's not new in it by any stretch of the imagination. It is sharing housing costs with other people. So, that's how most of us afford to live in a high-cost market like San Diego.
That's so true.
I mean, I've always had, whether it's roommates or I'm sharing housing costs with family, which is what I do right now. But just, it's never been part of the homeless assistance system. So much time and energy has been historically spent on getting folks into studios and 1-bedrooms, which really don't exist at scale in our market.
Right.
Most rental housing in San Diego is multi-bedroom. And we know how long it takes to build new housing and how expensive it is. So it's no wonder that folks are languishing on the streets, spending greater lengths of time homeless if we're focused on getting them into the smallest portion of our housing inventory. So we have an online app, not unlike a Match.com, that we make accessible to people experiencing homelessness so that they can find compatible housemates anywhere in the county. There are a lot of agencies that have done shared housing where they are, pairing people up and then helping them find housing in the private market, but their options are limited to whoever else that agency is supporting. And, just like dating, the bigger the pool, the greater your chances of finding a compatible person. And so we wanted to make sure that folks experiencing homelessness had that same opportunity. So that doesn't matter if they're working with townspeople or Father Joe's, they have the ability to find a housemate.
We come back from break. I want to talk about that. That's a fascinating aspect of it. And then one of my favorite topics, and Jason and I were just chatting with our friends from Guitars and Ukes in the classroom, and that is the power of art and community. We can talk about that till the cows come home, so forth. When we return with Melissa Peterson, she's the Executive Director of Townspeople. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, joined by my guest co-host, Jason Nitz. He's the Dean of School Culture for Cristo Rey San Diego High School, and we will be right back after this short break.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. So pleased to have a return appearance from Melissa Peterson. She is the Executive Director of Townspeople, joined by my guest co-host, Jason Nitz. He's the Dean of School Culture for Cristo Rey San Diego High School. You were talking about shared housing. So these are the folks that have agreed to share housing, right? So
Yep.
Just like you say on the dating app. And so they've, do you vet them at all just to make sure there are no axe murderers in the group and all that business?
We help them to, we've got some tools and
Right.
questions that we use to help them get to know one another better, help to understand, make sure they're all on the same page
Right.
before they move in together. And they can decide to background check one another if they want.
Sure.
But our goal is to facilitate housing for them. And so once they pair up, or if it's four of them, then we'll work to find them housing that meets their combined preferences and income. And so many of the people that we help are working,
Right.
they earn income. It's just not enough to live
The
in
working
San Diego.
poor. Right.
Yeah.
But I love that idea because the people on that list have all agreed that I will share housing. So it's not like, will you do it? No, you already said you were going to do it. And maybe it's not. I think that's fantastic. And now you have, solved this for. Now, are those usually individuals that will share housing, or is it sometimes small families, or
a little bit of every
Right.
kind of household type? We've helped mainly within the family
Right.
sphere, single moms with kids.
that makes all the sense in the world.
Right? You want to be able to share housing with someone who understands what you're going through.
Right.
That's the other great part about shared housing is it creates a community and a support system for folks.
Right.
And that can, I think, be one of the reasons why some people who are living alone after experiencing homelessness might return, right? There's no community when you're living alone. And so in shared housing, at least you've got someone who, if you haven't come out of your room for a couple of days, they're going to check on you and make sure you're okay.
No, I think that is huge. And so is it growing? How long have you been doing this?
We have really been going for about 2 years.
Wow.
Last year was our first full year.
How many people took advantage of it?
So over 1,000 people have expressed interest in shared housing.
That's fantastic.
And
that's a huge number.
Yeah, we're working our way through it. So we've got about 150 people in shared housing right now.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and we're looking to grow it. We're actually moving into a partnership with the city of Vista, who they are just fantastic to work with. One of the best groups, public servants that I've gotten to collaborate with, and they're all in. And so they're funding a team to continue shared housing work in their part of the county.
Yeah, we just had on the Vista school superintendent, Matt Doyle, on the show, talking about all the great things that might have been tied to this as well. Jason, got another question for Melissa.
Yeah, so we've touched on this a little bit, talking about community and how that can be shared with shared housing. Can you tell us more about the healing power of art in community?
Yeah, this is a sensitive subject for me right now because we just lost a board member who had started, his name's Dennis Larkin. He had started a nonprofit called Art Outreach. He believed wholeheartedly, and I loved what the previous guests and you all were talking about, and just the importance and the value of art and music. Dennis was focused on painting and drawing and illustrations, and he would do workshops in different supportive housing projects throughout the region in part of like street outreach efforts. And it's amazing just what people, like the calmness that it brings to people and the barriers that it can break down. So someone might come to a day center that morning feeling really like shut off from the community, right? They're like, I'm here, but I don't want to talk to anybody. But you get them to sit down and just start like coloring in a coloring book even. And then they start to feel a little bit more open and to talking and to sharing what's going on with them that day. And we've really seen it works so well for the folks that we support, to the point where we opened a free little art gallery, kind of like the free little libraries. We have one where we encourage folks to drop off art, and people in the neighborhood can take art, just small ways to send that message about the importance.
Well, listen, it's huge. My mom was an artist, and I learned absolutely nothing from her. I'm the worst stick figure.
Goes with a lot of parents.
Oh my goodness, the worst stick figure drawer in the world. That's even such an animal. But that being said, it's so true. Art and music is the key on so much of this stuff. Confidence, shared housing, a sense of unity on that. And I know, Jason, we talked about it earlier. That's such a big, important component of Cristo Rey, is it not?
Yeah, it's a huge component of Cristo Rey. I think in the end of the day, like, we're all about two things at our school. We're about human dignity, and we are about equitable education. And equitable education to me is always like trying to give people opportunities to have amazing experiences. I always say good art helps you understand the world. Great art helps you understand yourself and your place within the world.
Yes.
You can steal it.
Yeah, I will. Thanks.
Yeah, have it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. He'll just take a percentage.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the work that you're doing is really amazing. Like, it's interesting to think about how sometimes life or the systems that persist in our world, take away just from simple joys of coloring or expression.
Well, it's one of these things. Anyone who's worked in the public space and I've worked on it quite a bit when I was working for San Diego Unified, and even though I went over to a private business, San Diego Union Tribune. Listen, and the ones at the County Office of Education and in all the 43 districts, they don't do this intentionally. They just have to be handcuffed with some of these things that maybe Cristo Rey is not for being the school you are. And to your point, Jason, and what you make also, Melissa, is that it's here. Why are we doing everything we can to make sure this thing doesn't go through, in this area? Now, that's been talked about probably since people were walking upright. I understand that. But it just needs some advocates to go ahead. What can we do, to help support folks? Obviously, funds are important, to say the least. Volunteer, is there product? What else can we do?
Yeah, volunteering is welcomed. It may not always be for the most glamorous parts of what we do, but it is really meaningful, and impactful for us. And then we also launched our first online store. So shoptownspeople.com has some mission-driven merch on it. And all the dollars go to help people get into permanent housing.
So just give me an example. What would be sold?
So my favorite is we have a mug that says "Housing First, Then Coffee."
I like that. Was that your idea?
It was.
Of course.
And then we have, was yesterday working on our holiday merch. So there'll be a variation of the coffee one that is Housing First, Then Cocoa.
Nice.
Just keeping with the cozy time of year.
Well, you just got that sense of, family, obviously, and, connectivity in this area. Do you work with schools such as Cristo, San Diego, or Ray?
Yeah, we, through shared housing, actually have really been able to connect with a lot of the education institutions in town. Unfortunately, there are a lot of youth, a lot of students experiencing homelessness.
Huge.
And whether it is that we're able to connect with the students, that then we can help their parents, or if it's college-age students experiencing homelessness or housing instability, I really appreciated, Jason, hearing what your all's mission is, because I think there's so much overlap between industries. We're all focused on the same thing. We want equitable solutions to life. We want everyone to have what they need to thrive, and we're all different. We just hold different pieces of the puzzle, and being able to work together, then I think we can really offer holistic, satisfying solutions to real problems that people face. And so I actually would love to exchange contact information. So make sure that San Diego High School is part of our shared housing network.
Yeah, I would love that. And, a lot of what our school does, Cristo Rey, is all about finding good solutions, right? Finding creative solutions to difficult problems. I say human dignity and equitable education. I think everybody cares about those things. Yeah. It's just that not everybody can agree on how we're going to get there. But I think shared housing, I think that's a brilliant idea. It's wheels on the suitcase in a lot of ways.
Stealing that too.
Yeah.
So I think in that way we can all partner and communicate to the masses, creative solutions.
Yep.
And I think, and we've been doing the show for 20 years now, and I think what I like most about it when you see these connections here, obviously the first time you met Jason and vice versa, met Melissa over here, you never know where these things end up, down the road. But if you don't publicize it, you'll have no idea. And you really can't talk about this stuff enough. And you made a good point. People talk about homelessness as they should. It's certainly elevated. You can't, help but ignore it. San Diego's got issues, even though some of the numbers are going down, which is a good thing in this. But to your point, there's some solutions that are easier than you would think, shared housing and so forth. We're having some of the kids from, Cristo Rey, San Diego High School work on that. If you are interested, I always offer this. Hopefully I offered this to you before. Drew, no, you didn't offer that. What the heck's the matter with you, for God's sake? But would love to have somebody that's benefited from what you've done.
Oh, okay. Yes.
And bring them into the studio, or a couple of. We have a bunch of mics on this. And again, we're not trying to break privacy laws. We're not trying to, mess around with HIPAA and all that. But to me, I think it's important to say, well, here's how this shared housing thing worked. I'd love to get a shared housing person in.
I've got someone who has already volunteered.
Done. So shoot me an email if you can, and then I'll get you on sooner than later in this aspect of it. Because to me, that's what it's all about. I think, the same thing was with the guitars, and, youth in the classroom are going to bring somebody in and someone for the East County Transitional Living Center. So, Melissa, it's always a pleasure. Shout out your website.
Townspeople.org.
Okay, very, very good. And we're going to look forward to having you make a return appearance with some of the clients that you work with after the first of the year. Jason Nitz, another fine job. You're not quite done yet. We got one more interview to go over here.
No,
unless you walk out of the studio,
This is great. I'm all in.
Yeah, he looks happy.
Yeah, this is amazing. This is like the coolest show ever. I love it.
He's done a great job. Absolutely. I'm Drew Schlosberg on Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are in our 20th year, the nation's longest running community podcast, brought to you by the fine folks at Mission Fed Credit Union. 6 decades of doing great things for people living in San Diego County. And to our audience, we hope you enjoyed the interview.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.